Hi, this is Dr. Prasad Putilam with the new class series on Indian Knowledge System, which is under Vishwesvaraya Technological University. This is for the sixth semester of 2022 onwards admitted students. Means those who took engineering in the academic year 2022-23. For them, so this particular syllabus and study materials I'm preparing. Okay, this particular syllabus is there. Okay, study materials are there. I'm referring the textbook which is mentioned in the syllabus, exactly the same textbook, the Indian Knowledge System, written by B Madhavan. Okay, then there's a second textbook, that is the traditional knowledge system of India. Okay, so these are the main two, but this is written by Amit Shah. Okay, so these two textbook I'm referring. Okay, it took almost 1 month reading twice or thrice these two textbook, as well as one more reference book which is there available online PDF form. I referred it, and I have this is my first video of the I have given an introduction in you can check it in my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel name is My Intuition. Okay, so please do subscribe, because a lot of effort required to prepare a study material for this, and that's why I keep the textbook near to me whenever I get stuck, because I'll explaining the things, or even after reading, I may get confused that what is this point, so that confusion comes. So I'll be referring, I'll pause the video, I'll refer, and I'll continue recording the video. Okay, so please do subscribe for the effort that I am taking to bring it to you. This will be useful for the teachers as well as the students of Vishwesvaraya Technological University, affiliated to Vishwesvaraya Technological University, Karnataka. Okay, so the syllabus mentioned before, syllabus is always necessary to understand what is the course outcome of that. Okay, so the course outcome of Indian knowledge system, which is given here, it is to provide an overview of the concept of Indian knowledge system and its importance, appreciate the need and importance of protecting the traditional knowledge, recognizing the relevance of traditional knowledge in different domains, establishing the significance of Indian knowledge system in the contemporary world. These are the course outcome. Four course outcomes are given. So based on that, the questions has to be framed, answers has to be framed, study material has to be prepared in such a way to cover these four course outcomes mainly, so that the students can make sure that after completing this course, so only 3 module course actually, 3 unit they mentioned as unit. Usually it comes as module. Maybe while preparing, they may mention it as unit. So 3 units. Okay, but the content, the entire textbook, one textbook is enough, but there are enough supporting documents or details are there in the other textbook. The majority of the syllabus, it is prepared based on the first textbook which I have shown. Okay, so that is AICT approved textbook. This is the one which is prepared. This project, the textbook is itself is a project work approved by AICT, All India Council for Technological Education, New Delhi. Okay, so they thought that there is a need of a textbook, so textbook is made. I am referring the textbook and I am making my own explanation. Means referring to that, I am explaining. So that some of them after reading that may not be able to understand it, so I'm explaining it in my own way, because I know uh, uh, the students, at least I know the students of my institution, so they need some detailed explanation. Okay, so the first core topic of this syllabus, that is the overview. The overview itself, there are some 10 questions. Okay, simple questions only, very easy to understand. Okay, then Vedic corpus, philosophy is the character, scope and importance, traditional knowledge versus indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge versus Western knowledge. So these the topic towards the end, traditional knowledge versus, these are simple topics. Only one or two questions, one question like that. But overview and the Vedic corpus, philosophy, some more questions are there in the textbook itself. I'm giving the answer to that textbook, referring to the textbook from the textbook. Okay, so a lot of textbook the word I have used. Okay, the first question which is mentioned in the book, uh, that is, what is the current status of IKS? IKS means Indian Knowledge System in India. Briefly explain the reason for its current status. Okay, so it can be connected to the course outcome of 4, because question that directly it tells. And level, when I checked, I thought I need to give 4. Okay, level 3 also it can be kept, so I kept it as level 4. It can be, I have condensed the matter into 10 marks, try to condense the points. So the students who are watching, or the people who are watching, they need to note down this whatever given there in the slide which I am giving here. So you need to note down. I will not get time to attach it as a note, or don't ask me for the study material, because the textbook itself is the best one that is available, will be available in your library also, because once the syllabus is introduced, your library will be purchasing that textbook in 12. Okay, so the current status of Indian knowledge system in India. The first point which I made under that, that is, India has a very old civilization for its deep rooted traditions and knowledge. Okay, so a small explanation also given there. Okay, so the Indian civilization, it is actually one of the oldest in the world. If you check the data, it is more than 8,000 or some 1,000 years old. So this long history allowed the country, I cannot say, I can cut it as that area. Actually, it's not the present India, that map. If you see that, that will not work. It actually covers from the Afghanistan to the Burma, then the Himalayas to the Kanyakumari, or the ocean. Okay, so that vast area, that time it can be treated as a country. Now also you should use the word country only. Okay, so it was very rich and diverse. Knowledge was there in various fields, such as the science, the mathematics, medicine, as well as the technology. So unlike many other civilizations which were formed and they were lost or destroyed, but the India's tradition and the knowledge which were carried, or it has survived actually. The tradition as well as the knowledge survived and continued to the present, or over the millennia it has been survived. So that is the first point. So second point says that over thousands of years, India has accumulated a very vast amount of knowledge in various fields like science, mathematics, medicine, and technology. So it's a continuation of the first point. So throughout its history, the India has made a very significant contribution towards the global knowledge. For example, the mathematicians of India, they were the one who first to conceptualize the number 0. They are the one who developed the decimal system. These are the zeros and decimal systems. They become the fundamental to the modern mathematics. In case of medicine, the practices like the Ayurveda that everyone knows now, it was an ancient system of the natural healing that was originated in India. So these contributions were not just local, but influenced the global developments in these fields. Third point, if I say, so this knowledge was traditionally passed down orally through generations in India. So for most of its history, the India relied on the oral traditions in order to transmit the knowledge from one generation to the next generation. This means that the teachers, whom we that time called as the gurus, they would pass down their knowledge, whatever they knowledge they gained from their gurus, or the gained from their experience, or from their own effort. What they gained those knowledge, they passed it to their student. The students were called as a shishya or shishyas through spoken words and practical demonstration, not like making sitting in a class. The students or the shishyas, they have to live with or stay with the guru, and guru will explain things by the actual demonstrations wherever possible, or by through words, spoken words. So this method of transmission helped in preserving the knowledge, even though it was not always written down. Sometimes something, if it is written down a book as a book, if the book is destroyed, means people may not be knowing, because they are not having everything in their brain. Okay, one who read the textbook cannot write it as such, but the knowledge which is getting passed through the spoken method or by practical demonstrations, that has been carried out. Okay, so it got survived. So it was a very highly personal and the direct way of teaching, which ensured that the knowledge was not just learned, but also it understood in depth. Going to the fourth point, today much of the ancient knowledge, it is not widely recognized or used in modern education system. In the modern times nowadays, this particular era, especially after the colonial influences, we have been colonized by the Britishers. Okay, so the education system in India, it has shifted the focus. So the curriculum today, it is heavily influenced by the education model which is there in the Western countries, which often that is called as a Macallonian education system, which often overlook or undervalue the vast body of the traditional Indian knowledge. So as a result, many students in India they were not exposed to the rich history and the achievements of our own culture, our own civilization, leading to a disconnect with our heritage. Fifth point, uh, the current education system in India, largely based on the Western models, does not focus on or include much of its ancient knowledge. So the British colonial period, the time of British ruled around 200 years back onwards. Means before 200 years they reached India, and 1947 we got independence, that we know. Okay, so before the colonial period, which has introduced, they introduced a new education system in India, which was based on the model which is followed in Western countries. Okay, so this system, it prioritized the Western science, their literature, their philosophy, and they completely neglected the rich traditions and the knowledge system which had existed in India for many centuries. So even after India gained the independence, that is in 1947, the education system, it retained. It was not changed immediately. People were not knowing how to do it. So many of these Western influences also retained. Okay, slow, we understood that we need to know our system, how we used to pass the knowledge, what was the knowledge, if everything was forgotten. Okay, so now as a result, the traditional Indian knowledge, which included the fields like the Vedic science or Vedic or Ayurveda, classical Indian arts. This has been sidelined in the formal education system. Now, that is the present status of Indian knowledge system in India. If you check what are the reason for the current status, the reasons are highlighted like this. First point, that is the Western scholars and the British colonial rulers. They introduced a new education system in India about some 200 years ago. That means during the British colonial rule, that is in the 19th century, the British, they introduced the Maclonian system of education, which is also called, we can call as simply as the Western style education system. They introduced it in India in 19th century. So this system was primarily designed in order to serve the administration roles of the colonial system by creating a class of educated people of India who are familiar with the Western knowledge, the language, the administrative practices, only to make sure that their system in India is working properly by using us. For that, they wanted to educate us. That is the meaning of that. So the introduction of this system, it marked a significant shift from the traditional Indian educational practices, which were uh, deeply rooted in the country's own culture and knowledge traditions. Means the one who got the education, that is the Maclonian education or the Western type of education. Those who got the education, they were getting a job, so-called highly paid job, compared to people who are not educated. Only few were getting educated. They were getting so-called highly paid job. So people started adjusted to that from 2000 years back. They slowly started adjusted to the Maclonian system, which made us to work for someone else. Not that we are working for ourselves and we are helping, our work is giving help to others. Because we know already know that earlier there were different posts. Just now I can say a teacher, called as teacher or a professor. So that is his profession as a professor. A doctor, he knows how to treat a patient. So it's a profession. It become a doctor. Okay, like that, there are different professions. People who know how to carve the wood and make furniture or which is required. A set of people who got trained in that, they were experienced on that. They were given a particular name to that particular people who are working in that. So that is a profession. People who are able to stitch clothes, make the dresses, they were given some particular name. That was actually a profession. Okay, so such a traditional professions which the people used to do. Okay, they were used to exchange also. They used to give the one who is stitching a cloth, he'll give the cloth to the one who is making a wooden furniture. Like that, it was exchanging. Okay, they were not running behind the so-called the money as such, because they were getting in their field, they were able to grow. Not only doing the traditional work that they are expertized, they are also able to get some required food from their own agricultural land. There are people who are expertized in that, doing that, and so they were also there. So those were treated as a profession, and based on the profession, so many names were given, and now we know those names, we use it as a caste in our system. Okay, that is because some politics, I am not going in depth to that is there. Okay, so this system which was introduced some around 200 years back by the British, so that the Indian people will be trained, not so called educated. They'll be trained to do the work that they assign. so that they can run their business. So this continued, and many years even after independence, the people had almost within when I said that some 200 years back it was started, within some 50 years of that time, and I study the references and I can say that within a 50 years people almost started forgetting the Indian system, or they stopped continuing that whatever they were used to do, because if they do education, that particular education given by the British colonized or the Maclonian system, they were getting more money, so they were attracted towards that. And the traditional system, which was continued by oral system, that almost stopped. So within 50 years of British colony, the traditional systems, they started declining very badly. Now, 1947 means how many years after that? Okay, so around 200 years, almost everything forgotten. The traditional system, which was there, very few things were got recorded, remaining everything lost. But still, it is there. We people are able to understand that, and there are so many available things we are capable of understanding, that we have to regain whatever the knowledge that our ancestors had earlier. We need to gain it. If it could have continued from that 200 years, that time only, by this 200 years the Indians were maybe in the number one position in technology or whatever field that we take compared to other countries. That was a sure thing. Now that was the first point. The first point I elaborated little bit too much. Got some excited after reading that book and all. Some excitation came. Okay, and because even I am one of the innovation ambassador in under the AICTE. There also the training is given like this only. So we understood the things, but how to explain to the people who are still under the Maclonian system is very difficult. The second point, this new system emphasized the Western ideas and the Western ideas and knowledge, sidelining India's traditional knowledge system. So the Western style education system, it prioritized only the subjects like the science, Western science. Actually, the Western science, uh, they developed that science taking the reference of the Indian knowledge during that time when they developed it. That we'll see in the coming chapters or coming videos. We'll see in depth. I'm going with reference to that. Okay, so we were taught by the Western system, Western science. We were being taught their literature, their philosophy, uh, the Indian traditional knowledge, which actually covers a very vast uh, area or array of fields such as the Vedic sciences, mathematics, the medicine like Ayurveda, the metallurgy, the wood steel. Wood steel was there in India first. It was very largely ignored or deemed, or say it is called as inferior. It is deemed inferior. Okay, so the colonial rule believed that the Western knowledge was more advanced and scientific, and marginalizing or sidelining the indigenous knowledge system. So over time, this emphasis on the Western education, it has led to the gradual erasure of traditional knowledge. It has been removed or erased completely from the formal education. Third point, what is the reason for the current status? Before the old, okay, so the old way of passing knowledge orally from teachers to students was disrupted, leading to a loss of continuity in that tradition. Okay, that means before the introduction of these Maclonian education system. The knowledge in India, as I said, it was passed down orally from guru to shishya, teacher to student, through a very direct and personal transmission of learning. So this system, that oral system, it ensured that the knowledge was preserved and transferred across the generations. However, the introduction of that Maclonian education system by around 200 years back by the British rulers, this method of knowledge transmission, the Indian method of transmission before that, it was severely destroyed or disrupted. So the emphasis on the written examinations, or the emphasis on the formal schooling, or on the curriculum set by the Western people, it has completely replaced the Guru Shishya model of teaching learning. Okay, so that was actually the more student centric method. Now we use the word that it should be, the teaching should be student centric. Students were doing and learning along with the teacher. That was the Guru Shishya model which was followed early. So the new system, it has brought the continuity of the knowledge transmission in India. So as a result, much of the ancient knowledge which was not documented in a written form was almost lost. Now you have to gain it back in somehow the other way, by seeing the references or some of the examples which are available. Based on that, we need to regain it. Okay, so fourth point, as people adapted to the new system, the ancient knowledge became very less important and was often forgotten. Okay, so as India, the Indian society, it gradually adapted to the new education system which was introduced by the British. The focus shifted towards acquiring knowledge which was valued or which was rewarded by the authorities of British colony. Okay, so the promise of jobs and the economic prosperity through that Maclonian education system, it slowly, people started abandoning the traditional practices, and they aligned themselves to the Western model of education. So this shift in focus, it led to the complete diminishing of the ancient Indian knowledge. They were, even though it was well advanced, but they treated it as irrelevant or outdated. That way they treated the Indian knowledge, because it was diversified. Different people, they have their own knowledge. It was not united. Okay, so unity was not there in India at that time. That was the main reason why the people invaded India. Even the British also colonized. The Britishers actually destroyed the system. Others, they just invaded and they adjusted, and they didn't destroy our education system. They actually learned from us, and they shared it to others, but as their own. That is also there, but they learned from us, from the Indian knowledge system, Indian knowledge, and they shared it to the Western. And Western people were very smart. They took it as their own, and they published, they patented it, and they made it as a science, and made us to let us to learn it for their benefit. Okay, so over the time, as very few people are engaged with traditional knowledge, much of the uh, old Indian traditional system was forgotten or lost. Okay, so last point today. India continues to use the education system introduced by the British, which does not give any importance to the country's rich knowledge heritage. So that means even after the independence that we got in 1947, our country largely retained the that 1947, not only getting the independence, it was a split. Okay, so that split again made so many other complications that also we know. Okay, why the split happened, that also many people know. Why it has, who has supported that, why it happened, all those things, it will become as a history. Okay, so the country largely retained the British influenced education system. So this system, which had been designed to serve their colonial interest, it continued to prioritize the Western knowledge, their educational practices, and completely neglecting the India's own rich knowledge heritage. Although there have been some effort to reintroduce and promote the traditional Indian knowledge system in very recent years, the mainstream education system in India still does not give any adequate importance to these ancient traditions. So as a result, many students in India remain even unaware of the country's, or India become unaware that what are the country's history contribution to the fields such as mathematics, astronomy, medicine, metallurgy, and mainly in engineering also. Okay, so uh, I think that the fifth point I could able to explain. So that's about the first module, first video class on the Indian traditional system. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and support me for this. Once again, thank you very much.